Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Monday night and we're live. That doesn't happen too often. It's been a busy day. Hopefully everybody is off to a great start to their week. It's the end of August. September's around the corner, which means we're about 9 days away from Halloween Kills leaks everywhere, thanks to Venice. Hopefully everybody's doing good. I'm Sean. This is Fandom Empire Live. Running solo tonight. That's right. Fuck the rest of those guys. Who needs them, right? No, I'm kidding. I'd much rather be on here with them. The problem is, when you start doing something like this by yourself, you get into a groove. And then you start to have co-hosts to bounce things off of. And you get comfortable and, you can sort of look away for a second, look down at your phone, maybe take a drink, which I'm going to do anyway. It's nice to have co-hosts, but I figured, why not try a little bit of a new format in terms of the graphics tonight? That way we don't have everybody bitching. When are you going to talk about what? You just need to look that way, and you can see the 4 topics we have for this evening, and we're going to talk about all of them. I'm going to be relying on the chat to give me some back and forth tonight. So we'll be answering a lot of chat questions. And if you want to support the channel, as always, we strongly encourage you to, first and foremost, sign up for our Patreon if you want to support us on that level. Unlike YouTube, who takes, after taxes, nearly 50% now, Patreon, we actually get some of the stuff that you guys donate. Patreon.com/Fandom Empire today. Patreon.com/Fandom Empire. Join today. There's no today in the link, obviously, as you see down below. There's a lot going on today. So I know Dean's not in here, but I know he's in the chat. I messaged Dean today. I'm like, you know what, man? I'm kind of growing tired with how much these 4K extras have been put off. We were told specifically by Cliff McMillan himself that these would be announced towards the beginning of August, and they weren't. So they get pushed back 3 weeks, essentially, slightly more than 3 weeks, and they finally dropped today, and we'll get to them in just a little bit. And then more Kenobi stuff came out today. Some of it's public, some of it's not, so some of it you'll be hearing for the first time if you're into Star Wars, and if you're not, well, then I guess you can tune out after Halloween. That's why it's put at the bottom. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We've talked about it more than a few times on this channel. Not to be confused with the original or the remake from 2003. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Sean, hey, Dave is live. Yeah, I seen him. He's got a Q&A over there. Awesome. I love Dave. Dave's a good guy. But sadly, this is the time I had to go live, so we're live at the same time as him. So yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the sequel, the direct sequel to the original, stuff about it finally came out. Some concrete stuff, because it's been virtually silent this entire time. And then we're going to kick things off right here. Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City. I've seen so many, and this isn't going to be a long show, by the way. This is going to be pretty quick. I'm going to try to save some time for questions. And another way you can support the channel is send in a super chat, and we'd appreciate it. So, Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City. Look, there's a lot of people that are very skeptical about this movie. I can see why. I understand. However, everything I've seen from this movie, the leaked photos during the spring, and now the official photos released today, I think it was by IGN, might have been by someone else. This movie looks fucking awesome, in my opinion. I mean, let me pull it up here. Apologies, you can only do so much setting up before going live. This movie, for my money, looks fantastic. And does that mean it looks fantastic in the way that that most movies look fantastic? Not necessarily, but the images, which they're not going to let me pull up, apologies. The images that came out today, I don't know if any of you have seen them, look a lot like the video game. Now, I don't know about you guys. One of my biggest pet peeves is if you're going to do a video game movie, try to make it similar to the video game. Don't go and change 10,000 things. Try to stay true to the source material. And I would argue that, well, there are definitely parts of the Resident Evil source material that has come up in the live action movies to date, that it didn't stay true to the source material. And I'm not a big fan of the movies that are out there right now. I'm not, the Alice movies. I'm not a big fan of that at all. I didn't mind Resident Evil 2, which was filmed right here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. It sort of felt like Resident Evil, one of the games, and yet still had some things that were different. And the rest, I just really don't care for, if I'm being honest. With Resident Evil, you don't need, superpower being versus superpower being. That's not Resident Evil. That has never been Resident Evil. Not really, anyway. And when you look at the pictures of this first one, I truly believe if you guys have played the first game and or the second game, that this is, at least visually speaking, the truest adaptation we've got to date. I don't think we've gotten a Resident Evil movie that looks and feels like the games yet. And this one does feel that way, in my opinion. There's the first image. I'm assuming the fella to the left is Leon. And we all know from the jacket that that's Claire. So you got Leon and Claire in that one, and I dig it. I honestly really, really like what I'm seeing here. It's not letting me load the image of the entrance to the mansion, but I thought it looked spectacular. I truly did. Is there any Resident Evil fans in the chat? I have my hopes up. I do. I won't lie. Do I think it's going to blow people away? No. In fact, I could see most people being highly critical of this movie. There are already people that are highly critical of this movie that haven't seen a single frame of it yet. And that's just sort of the way things go in 2021. You either love something or you hate something, it feels like, even if you haven't seen shit about it. So yeah, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, currently scheduled to release on American Thanksgiving. We'll have to see if that sticks. But for me, the photos are promising, because all I wanted was something that stays true to the games. And thus far, I think we've gotten that in the images that we've seen, whether they're the leaked ones or whether they're the images that we have now. What do you guys think about the images of Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City at this point? That image reminds me of the Resident Evil 2 remake. Yeah, I think that's accurate. T. Parker Arvin says the sets look amazing. They do. If you've seen the outside of the police station, it looks spot on. It's so good. Again, some people might think it looks corny, but I think this movie is designed to look and feel like the video game. And less like, well, this is what Resident Evil would look like if it really happened. And I'm for that, because you're making a video game movie, essentially. All right, let's shift gears here. Resident Evil pardon me, Resident Evil. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's right, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The sequel to the original movie. We have some news on today. This broke not too long ago. I can't remember. I want to say it was Mike Bish that put it out in our group chat. And I absolutely thoroughly was excited for this movie when it was first announced. And then test screenings happened. Yes, there's the dreaded two words nobody wants to hear, test screenings. Test screenings happened for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Not to be confused, it's not the original movie. It is simply a sequel to the original, much in the vein of what Halloween 18 did with theirs. Pardon me, I'm trying to pull up the article here. I think I can show it to you guys, but I'm not entirely sure. So yes, it reads as this. One moment, let me get back on here with you guys and gals out there. Netflix picks up Texas Chainsaw Massacre from Legendary, exclusive from The Hollywood Reporter. Now, this isn't rumor. This is fact. Hollywood Reporter puts something out there. They're putting out there because they know what the fuck they're talking about. You know, in my opinion, if you had to pick one major trade that gets shit right most of the time, my number one would be The Hollywood Reporter. So this is a sequel to the 1974 movie. And the interesting thing is there's not a lot of details. The movie was filmed last year and completed in 2020. The marketing has been quite literally Dean, breaking news. My Halloween 2018 soundtrack vinyl expanded editions just got delivered. You were talking to me earlier, Dean, about that. When you say editions, you mean more than one, I assume, but the only one that I know of that exists is this one right here. So is there another expanded edition that I'm unaware of at this point? I'd love to know. But yeah, no. Awesome stuff, man. Awesome stuff. Back to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's weird how this is going down. It honestly is. And someone said in the chat earlier, Entertainment Wizard, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is looking bad. I'm legitimately concerned for this movie. One, there's been basically no marketing whatsoever. So that's out. Two, we've heard almost nothing for an entire year. Now, three, Netflix purchases it, but as far as I know, and you guys can let me know in the chat if you've heard different, there's no price attached to it. Usually when these things drop, there's a price attached to it. Hotel Transylvania had a price attached to it. Knives Out 2 and 3 had a price attached to it. But this one, nowhere to be found. No price. And on top of that, there's no release date still. A movie that's been complete and in the can for a year and now has been purchased by Netflix. And I can sort of understand them not giving the release date just yet. But there's no release date. There's no, amount that's been released of how much they paid for it. The test screenings, despite what some people have said, most of what I've seen is bad. And that sucks because I'm a big Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan. I want this movie to be good. But when all the evidence is pointing towards this movie's going to be shit, or, it's not looking great at the moment, Oh, Steve Green, more fake news of a release date change for Kills. I don't think we've mentioned Halloween Kills, Steve. So there's a door over there. Feel free to use it. So yeah, you know. And in terms of, hang on, let me touch on Troll's comment there. If that's how he meant it. The release date thing that's out there has been out there for a month, and quite literally, some of the major trades have talked about it. And not just with Halloween Kills, with everything. Maybe you need to open your eyes and see the current state of the world and understand why studios are moving everything. But that's okay. You do you. Right? Nobody ever said it was happening. Nobody said it was happening. We didn't say it was happening. We certainly said it's a possibility. And I'll still sit here today. And I don't know if Dean agrees with me. I think most of the Fandom Empire team are on the same page as this. It should have moved. And if you watched how Candyman performed, which is not on the topic list tonight, Candyman, although some people are trying to spin it positively, did fucking horrendous at the box office this weekend. Terrible. And I'm not saying that's what Halloween Kills is going to do, but its potential to earn as much as it could have is out the window because of what's going on in the world. So, anywho, with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think you just add the evidence up, and it's not hard to do. Test screening went terrible. Candyman is shit, though, says Steve. I don't know. Haven't seen it. I don't even know what its score is on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not a movie I was particularly interested in. I've heard it's crap. I've heard it's good. Somewhere in between. I know our boys Dean and Matt went to see it. Apparently Matt fell asleep during it. So, yeah. It didn't do well. It made $300,000 internationally. And I know some people might say, well, it's not much of an international film. Well, people still say the same thing about the Halloween franchise, and Halloween 2018 had 37% of its box office made overseas internationally. Candyman had 1%. 1. Candyman needed to make about $60 to $65 million to break even. It's not going to touch that. It might get close in the long run. We'll have to wait and see. And if it does touch it, it's not going to do very well. Dean Renner in the chat. Funny how we come on here and somehow this goes all the way back to Halloween Kills. It's fine. That's cool, though. I don't mind the chat dictating what we talk about here and there, especially when it's just me on here. Monday evening, shooting the shit with all you guys. We're still going to get the Halloween 4Ks. We're going to talk about what was announced today. Give some shout outs. Dean says it absolutely should have moved. However, I think they left it on the 15th because they probably have a streaming deal basically on the table. So it gets sold to streaming shortly after the 15th. Well, as we just seen, it's not a streaming deal, but you can already pre-order Candyman. Already. After opening weekend, which is a bit unusual, but I wouldn't be surprised if Candyman gets a streaming deal now too. These studios, say what you will, are the ones that are getting hurt the most during the pandemic, and they need to find any which way they can to regroup their funds. So you're seeing a lot of untraditional things go down. A lot. Shoot the shit. That's what I like to do, man. I like to sit here, have a good time. Can't vape. I'm about to go drive. I got to go pick up the family shortly. But yeah, no, I don't mind shooting the shit. Hopefully you're having a good day, Heath. Our boy Solid Saturn, who likes to prank everybody in all of our groups. Try to tell everybody Halloween Kills got delayed to 2022. What I feel bad for is the people that believe him. even though he's just having some playful fun. So let me ask the chat this. Let's get you guys involved in some Texas Chainsaw Massacre before we move on. Let's lay down the evidence. Test screenings, even though they said otherwise, most of the word out of the test screenings is it went terrible. So that's not good. Literally no marketing or no mention of it really at all in a calendar year. They did nothing to push this movie. They went back and reshot some of this movie and still felt the need to do no marketing for it. The movie's now been sold for Netflix with no mention of a release date and no mention of how much it cost, which is unusual when these type of transactions happen. Does anybody feel in the chat that Texas Chainsaw Massacre still has a chance, the sequel to the original? Do any of you in the chat feel that this movie, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, has a chance to be good still? Could this still potentially be good if they go in and edit a bunch of the movie and trim it down and maybe find a cut that they like better? Do you guys think there is any hope for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie at all? For me, I wanted to see this movie in cinemas. I love going to the movie theater. It's one of my favorite places to be. I'll take a movie theater over watching it at home any day of the week. Although, again, I understand what's going on in the world right now. But do any of you think Texas Chainsaw Massacre has a chance to still be a solid film? And I think there's always a chance, but I wouldn't bet a Canadian loony or toonie on it. I just look at the evidence, and generally these sort of situations don't go good. The fan film by Chainsaw Sawyer will probably be better. It looks good. I'll say that. It looks good. Solid said, I think the new Texas film's coming in 2022. You know, I thought the same, dude. I absolutely thought that was going to be the case. And then they sold it to Netflix. And Netflix has been shuffling some stuff out of their November release date schedule and pushing it to either December or bringing it up to October. Another example of that is a show that I like on there. It's called You. You know, if you're the obsessive stalking type. It's a quality show if you like those sort of things. And they've pushed that up to, drumroll please, October the 15th, as if there's not enough fucking shit coming out on that day. Now you have Netflix putting out You on October the 15th. My guess is they're going to put this movie out in November. I think they're going to put Texas Chainsaw Massacre out sometime in November. And we'll see what happens. You know, they could hold it all the way till next year. But why do that? Unless they're intending to put some more of their own money in it and, and add more to it. But I think it's coming sooner rather than later. But who knows? Things get acquired all the time and can get sit on a shelf. I can't remember what movie. There was a movie recently that was just acquired by, I think it was Amazon. I don't remember the name of the movie. It had a little bit of hype behind it. Although I'm not really showing that, anything, not knowing the name of the movie. And it's just sitting on a shelf collecting dust. Let's see what we have here. The movie's not working, so they're dumping it on streaming. Yeah, Netflix, wrote them a check. And, here's the difference. Is a lot of people say, well, what if, Halloween Kills just goes straight to streaming now? Well, they're already well into their marketing, and Universal's paying a bunch of fucking money for the marketing. And then people will say, well, what if Venom just goes straight to streaming? Venom has had 2 marketing drives. So their marketing dollars have already been invested. And the bill is adding up, as is the interest on the loan, in order to make the movie. Texas Chainsaw Massacre had no marketing. None. So it's a lot easier for them to turn around and make a profit by selling it to Netflix and being like, whatever. My guess is you won't see another, not in this storyline. And it's too bad because I really had hopes for this. Dean says it might be a good movie. Maybe it'll surprise us. I'm going to reserve my judgment until we see it. That's what a smart man would do. I'm not always that. So Solid says TCM is trash, or pardon me, meh. I thought it said trash. But yeah. Matt Whitfield asks, I really wonder how much that TCM was in terms to buy or what the budget was for it. Can you clarify that, Matt? I'm trying to find the budget right now, and usually the budget for these things pop up real quick, and I'm not seeing it, so that's interesting. Mike Davis says, test screenings for horror movies are always the same stories. It's bad. It's bad. Probably the same story for the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Well, I'll say this to Mike's point here. Is there was another movie that got highly criticized in its test screening, and that was Halloween 2018. The test screening for Halloween 2018 did not go well. And they went back and reshot the entire ending of the film. Wasn't the only thing they reshot, by the way. I would think that when we're talking about Halloween 2018, regardless of how you feel about it personally, for the most part, it was well received by audiences. It made $255 million worldwide, and yet had a bad test screening. Again, though, I think if the studio had faith in it, they'd hold on to it, not release it, and aim for a theatrical release the following year. I think the studio has no faith in the movie when talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yes, it did. Halloween 1978 did have negative reviews when it first came out. And it was actually a couple of positive reviews that ended up being the springboard to the movie becoming a success. Joel says TCM is not looking good. The franchise has played out. I get that, man. I get it. I think he's live over on his channel right now, but what's Dave McRae always say? The more sequels you make, the more you'll run it into the ground. Movies have, a shelf life. And sometimes you overuse it. Like, I guarantee you, even though I like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there's been so much Leatherface shit that's come out, I haven't seen any of it. I just haven't. And yet I'm a fan of the franchise. So what's that tell you? All right, let's shift gears here. Let's move on to the Halloween 4K releases. They released the details today on the extras that we're getting. We're getting newspaper ad galleries for all 5 movies. So that's been added. We're getting a making of the masks, I guess, interview / documentary from a fella that works for Trick or Treat Studios with the H3. The thing that I find a little disturbing is this. It was heavily rumored H4 and H5, and we got those rumors too, would contain a whole lot of extras. And while I think you could make the argument H5 does contain, a decent amount of extras, new extras, H4 basically has nothing other than the newspaper ad galleries. And a lot of people sort of take that as, well, they're misleading us. And I don't know if I would go that far. I think when it came to a lot of the H4 and H5 material, the question was, what kind of condition was the footage in? And I can't speak for that. And by the way, I want to give Scream Factory a shout out. We tweeted about the release of this information earlier today, and instead of them doing their own tweet, They just took our tweet and retweeted it. So I thought that was cool. It was a nice shout out by a company like that for a small little channel like ours. So if anybody from Scream Factory or Shout Factory is watching, thank you very much. You didn't have to do that. It's appreciated. Halloween 5, though, you're going to get the alternative opening to the film, aka the Dr. Death opening that a lot of people have wanted for a very long time. So you get that. You get, I forget the technical term for it, but I believe it's the blood and gore shorts, which is basically additional or alternative scenes that were cut from the movie in order to maintain the R rating. And then you get the the newspaper ad gallery as well with that one. Now, a lot of people are stoked about the Dr. Death thing. That's amazing. I'm thrilled for them. I'm excited for it myself. However, a lot of people are not particularly happy today. And that's because, well, we're getting the alternative opening. A lot of people want to know what the hell's up with the SWAT scene. And I did reach out to Scream Factory and Shout Factory for comment, and I have not heard back yet. I asked if that particular scene would be included in the blood and gore shorts or whatever that's on there, the deleted / alternative scenes that they had to sort of dumb down in order to make an R rating or remove completely. So I still think there's a chance you get the SWAT scene, but I'm not saying that you are. And I would think that if you are, that would have been something that they advertise. The problem is the SWAT truck is right on the cover of the H5 case, the H5 4K case. And I do think that's a little misleading if you're not getting it. That's not to say you don't ever see a SWAT truck at all in the film. But I do think it sort of gives an impression that you're going to get something and you might not. At the end of the day, the way I look at it is this. I had a supporter of the channel reach out to me today, and they were not happy that basically you had to pay $300 for the box set, and they didn't feel like they got enough for it. If we can recap here for a second, because I think we got, quite a lot in this box set here. If you got the box set, you have the Halloween 1, 2, and 3 vinyls, which are not the complete albums, which a lot of people had the impression that they might have been when they first came out. And I don't, criticize anybody who thought that, but it's the main theme from each movie and one additional track. So there's 2 tracks on these 7-inch LPs. If you got the box set, you will also, if you look at the bottom, receive the new artwork from Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween 3, Halloween 4, Halloween 5. As my buddy Dean in the chat likes to point out, these 4Ks are also done from the original negatives of the film, which is important. Some people will point to the Lionsgate Halloween 4K and be like, well, I already got it. Why do I need it again? The Lionsgate one was not done from the original negative, and that does matter. Dean could probably tell you in the chat how much it matters more than I could. He understands physical media more than I do. So you get the 5 posters, you get the 5 cases of the new artwork, the 3 vinyls. If you got the pin collectors, you got the pin collectors. You got the old extras that were previously released and some new extras for $300. And I know there's a lot of people that are upset that, I think the message I got today said that the old box set, which was Blu-ray, not 4K, remind you, was like $150 or something and included all the movies. And they're right. But 4K is more expensive than Blu-ray. And you're getting the vinyl. And you're getting the special cases. And you're getting the artwork cases. And you're getting the posters, the pins, the other extras, and the new extras. I think for $300 that it's still worth it. I know a lot of people are upset that other movies didn't make it into this release. But if you would have got the whole set of Halloween movies outside of maybe Halloween 2018, So if you would have got 10 movies on 4K, you would have been paying $600 for it. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I can't just fucking, all right, here's $600 on a movie set. And you're getting Blu-ray discs packed in with the 4K discs. That's right. Absolutely. Evan, the movie guy, says the quality of the source matters a lot. T. Parker Evans says there's a photo of the Doctor Death opening. Looks like they restored it really well. I saw that. Someone sent it to me not too long ago. Forgive me, I don't remember who, but it looks great. It does look quite good. Heath says, I know they have to be able to jump through some financial issues with cuts and all if people in those scenes weren't in the movie. However, here's hoping we get more extras than we expect. I hope so too, but I'm also not counting on it because at the end of the day, you know, the surprise element's cool, but this is about dollars and cents and they want to make money off this. And that's why they do this. If they didn't make money off this, they wouldn't do it. So I think you might be getting your hopes up if you think you're going to get more than what's been announced. Maybe more gets announced closer to the release date, but I don't know. Mike Davis says that Halloween 5 poster alone may be worth $200 in a few years. My understanding, the SWAT team scene is a bunch of flashes. I do not know. I don't know on that front. What do you guys think in the chat? Are you happy with the extras that were announced today, or do you wish there was more? Comment down in the comment section below if you're watching this after the fact, or comment in the live chat now. By the way, if you haven't yet, click the like button. Looks like this. It's a thumb that's pointing up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, click subscribe. If you want to support the channel on another level, head on over to patreon.com/Fandom Empire. Join today. We do have another Lampkin Lane coming up soon, too. I also want to remind people that tomorrow's a pretty big day for us. Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, the unrated producer's cut watch along tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Myself, Kieran, Johnny, Tommy B, Matt, and Mikey Bish are all going to do a watch along this movie and answer your questions in the chat. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you don't have the movie, you can rent it on Amazon. Go search it up. Can't wait for that. We haven't done a watch along in a while. And I'm stoked for it. So I can't wait to see what happens with that. All right, let's move on to Kenobi. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, Kenobi, we're going to touch on some spoilery stuff. So this is my unofficial, if you hate spoilers, you might not want to listen to this. So Kathleen Kennedy, when this movie, it was originally supposed to be a movie, and then it was going to be 3 movies, and now it's a 6-episode TV series. Kathleen Kennedy described this series as the rematch of the century. She's not talking about Leia versus Jabba the Hutt either. She's talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi against Darth Vader. The 2 of them. And I can tell you, and this isn't like an exclusive or anything, it's been out there for a while now, that Hayden Christensen is playing Darth Vader in this movie, in the suit as well. That dude went and got jacked for this. And some people might be like, well, why do you need Hayden Christensen in the suit if he's just going to be wearing that mask? That one right there. And the answer is Darth Vader doesn't just walk around in a suit and it's just like, okay, whatever. I got burnt. The suit now keeps me healthy. Darth Vader's way of life is basically torture. And in this series, you're going to have a look behind the mask in what's left of Anakin Skywalker. Now Darth Vader has to go through on a day-to-day basis just to stay alive. And it adds something to that series. And it adds to his hate for Kenobi. And so you're going to see Darth Vader outside of the suit in this series. And the heavy rumor is you're going to see Darth Vader battle Kenobi with the suit minus the mask. They are going to fight again. It's happening. And it makes sense because it's still 10 years removed from A New Hope. And finally, Obi-Wan can come clean with he's more machine now than man. And I'm excited for it, but I understand why some people are skeptical. Some people don't want, like with Rob Zombie's Halloween movies, a lot of people didn't want to see, well, why is Michael doing this? Why is Vader doing this in the Kenobi series? But they're gonna show you just how terrible this guy's body is, what's left of it, and the extreme pain he goes through on a day-to-day basis just to be able to do what he does. And I'm looking forward to this. This show has been described as dark and gritty and far less space adventure-y and built on tension and definitely not nearly as kid-friendly. And I'm stoked. Right now, Kenobi is scheduled for 2022 release. No idea when that is in 2022. Some people speculate late spring, early summer. Some people are speculating fall. It's still filming. Filming's not done yet, but remember, with the technology that they use, at least for parts of this series, the stagecraft technology, pre-production is the emphasis, and post-production requires less than what it used to. Let me look upon you with my own eyes. I hope he says it to Kenobi. Oh, that'd be epic. That would be epic. We also know that one of the driving plot points behind this show is Kid Leia. And we know Kid Leia and Kid Luke have both been cast in the show. We know Uncle Owen, Spider-Man on my mind. Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru are going to be front and center in the show. Joel Edgerton's back as Uncle Owen. The show does not just take place on Tatooine. I know there are those that think that Kenobi should never leave Tatooine, and it's just not in the cards. Kenobi is leaving Tatooine. And again, what bigger driving force is there for Kenobi to leave Tatooine than something's up with Leia? And oh my God, why can I not remember his name? It's supposed to be a Star Wars guy. I don't remember his Bail Organa is probably going to call on Kenobi for help. We know there's Sith Inquisitors in this show. You're going to see a whole heck of a lot in this show in terms of action. And I can't wait to see what it looks like. Thank God James Earl Jones is still alive to do the voice. Yeah, although I have to wonder, I gotta be honest, man, I was not a big fan. Again, James Earl Jones, I believe, is in his early 90s or late 80s. You can't expect him to be what he once was. I think that was, very much straightforward in Star Wars Rebels, in Rogue One. You could tell the voice just wasn't the same. My guess is all his stuff has already been recorded. It's quite possible his stuff has been recorded for a while. Or if you guys watched the making of the Mandalorian Season 2 finale, there's this new tech where they run a bunch of old lines through this new computer software. And the computer learns the lines and the voice and is able to spit out whole new sentences. Whole new monologues, if you will, using the information they've gotten from previous voice clips. So while James Earl Jones could still get credit, I wouldn't be surprised if they used that technology. And they actually did that for Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian Season 2. They did not have Mark Hamill record new lines. They used a bunch of his footage from the original trilogy, from interviews in around then, the holiday special, radio dramas, and that's how they were able to come up with the lines for that. Tech is just unreal. Like, some people might scoff at this, but if it's getting that good, you're gonna be taking jobs from voice actors, which I don't necessarily think is right. But it is what it is. Again, Kenobi comes your way next year. I mean, as excited as I am for Halloween Kills, and as excited as I am for Halloween Ends, I'm far more excited for Obi-Wan Kenobi, and more importantly, Ewan McGregor to be back in that role, doing what he does best. That's going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. 47 minutes and 4 seconds into that show. We touched on all 4 topics, answered some chat questions. It's a Monday show. Hopefully everybody's having a great evening. We're back tomorrow night. Kieran has the Rick and Morty show at 8 p.m. Eastern, followed by the Halloween 6 Curse of Michael Myers Producer's Cut watch along, 9 p.m. Eastern. 6 of us on here. It's going to be a bunch of fun. If you don't own the movie or don't have the movie via other means, you can rent it on Amazon and join us at 9 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget, if you want to support the channel on another level, you can sign up for our Patreon, patreon.com/Fandom Empire. Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, Fandom Empire now. You can check out our Facebook group, which is run by our boy Dean Renner, Halloween Fandom. Go search it up. Join. Use a real Facebook profile or you won't be allowed. And you can also check us out at the Fandom Empire Den. That's going to do it, though. Hopefully everybody has a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. Fuck Terrence. He's an asshole. Good night, everybody.